figs drying in the field. It's called ktsias because they cut them, so all the fluid should ooze out of the dates, the figs, when they dry them in the field. The kash, you're permitted to cover them with kash, with straw. No? Even on Chol Moed, you're permitted. Rabbi Yudo me'af ma'avin. So the Gemara, according to one interpretation, means Tanakh is of the opinion you cover it sparsely. You don't do a full covering, because otherwise it's too much of an effort. Rabbi says, no, you cover it, even if you put a thick covering. There are no spaces. That's one. Another interpretation is that you can even pile them up in one location. Normally they're spread out. Once you want to take them, pile them in one location and just cover all of them, you're permitted. Ma'avin means thick, like a thick pile. Mochri peiros ksus v'kelim. Person wants to sell fruit, clothing, or kelim, or vessels. Mochri b'tzina. And we're talking about you need it. You need it for Yom Tif. You need it for Yom Tif. On Chol Moed. Person wants to buy a suit. He needs a suit for Chol Moed. Are you permitted to buy it? So the seller's permitted to sell it, but he sells a b'tzina. He's not open for business as regular. It looks like he's running a regular business. L'tzorach hamoed. Hatzayodin. Trappers. Tzayod is a trapper. The shoshos is people who they actually take the wheat. We'll see in a moment, and they actually crush the wheat. You know, cracked wheat, crack it. Grusos, osem bitzino, l'tzorach hamoed. Because otherwise, it seems to be they're doing it not only for Yom Tiv, they're doing it for after Yom Tiv. Rabbi Yosef heimach miratzman. We'll see tomorrow what this means. It says no. They took the question is, what does it mean when it says they did it? When it says they did it bitzino, they did it in a inconspicuous way. And Rabbi says, is that the chumrah or no? The Gemara will show no. People machmir, they did nothing. Even though they were permitted to sell and to do many things, they didn't do whatsoever. Pliga Rav Chia bar Abba of Rabbi Yoasi. There's an argument of Rav Chia bar Abba and Rav Asi b'tavai mishmei de Chizkiyo. Rabbi Yochanan, both are speaking in the name of Chizkiyo and Rabbi Yochanan. What exactly is the machlokes regarding the Mishnah? It says Charoma Mechapin. What does Mechapin mean? It says you're permitted to cover the figs that are laying in the field. Aklushe. Aklush means put a very sparse covering. Ma'avin, when Rabbi Yudah says you can even ma'avin, asmuchi. You can even put the covering, the branches close to one another. It's not sparse. Charmano. Mechapin bein aklushe bein asmuchi. When you're permitted to cover, whether it's a sparse covering, a thick covering, you're permitted to either one. Ma'avin, what does ma'avin mean? Thick. Oslim and kri. You pile it up, you pile it in one location. It's not a problem. You don't have to be concerned that it'll look like anything. Okay, so Rashi says, Rega, to make it easy to cover, you're permitted to pile it even in one location. Further, Tanya Namiyochi, learned in the Braisa, Ma'avin, also Sakim Kri, Div Rebuda. Rebuda says, so Ma'avin doesn't mean you cover it in a significant way. You can even pile it and cover the whole pile. It's a Braisa, quoting a Braisa. Mochri Pers Ksus Vekela Mochrim Bitzina. It says those who sell fruit, clothing, or vessels, they sell Bitzina. But it has to be L'tzorach hamoed for Yom Tiv. Iboilu. Hein hechmir latzman lohavi avdi klal. What it says, Rabbi Yudah says, but those who were machmir on themselves, does he mean say they didn't sell it whatsoever, even though they permitted for Yom Tiv? O dilma davi avdi bitzina. The chumrah is going back on what the Reisha says. Really, they could have opened the shop and sold the fruit if it's Yom Tiv openly, but they were machmir to do a bitzina. Toshma mochri peres ksus v'kei mochrim bitzina l'tzorach hamoed. Those who sell fruit, clothing, vessels, they sell it bitzina, meaning in a concealed way, inconspicuous. L'tzarech mo for Yom Tiv. Rabbi Yosef Tagrei Tveria, the merchants of Tveria, they closed down the shops totally. So the chumrah is not to sell whatsoever, even though they were permitted. The trappers who trap undomesticated birds and fish. You do it not in a regular way, in an obvious way. We also have Tzadei Aku, the trappers of Aku, they didn't do whatsoever. The Shushay, those who crack the wheat, Chilka, Tirgis, Vitisnik, whether we'll say they crack it in so many ways, in so many parts. Doshem Bitzino, talking about Rabbi Yosef, the Shushi Tzipori, those who cracked the wheat who came from Tzipori, that's up north. Not whatsoever. Okay, now there's a question. What exactly is chilko? What does it mean in chilko? Abai Omer Abai chilko chadal tarti. They crack the wheat into two. That's chilko. From with cholek, split. They crack the wheat. Tirgis, what's tirgis? Like it's from the word in Latin, triangle. Tirgis, try. Chad litlas, they split it into three. Tisni, chad larbo, they cracked wheat. 2, 3, or 4. Ki osir avdi moma kanso. No, it doesn't mean, chilka doesn't mean that. It means that they would soak it. They would soak it. That's chilka. Chilka means soaked wheat. Meisveik. So we learned in the Braisa chilka tirgus tisni. Now we learned that what's susceptible for tuma. It has to come in contact with liquid. If it never came in contact with liquid, even if sheretz touches it, doesn't contaminate it. It has to be initiated to be susceptible. So it says in the Braisa, chilka tirgus v'tisni tmei b'chol makom. Meaning, in a large city, because since they're all soaked in water, therefore they all came in contact with water, and therefore they're all susceptible for tumah. According to Abaye, they explained what is the meaning of chilka tirgus tisni chad letarti tlas larbo mishamochi tmei b'chol makom. Why? This kashur means they're all soaked, and what's the difference between each one of them is it cracked into 2, 3, or 4 when they crack the wheat. But according to the opinion, Rav Dimi said it means soak. Chilta means it's soaked, the others are not soaked. Amai tmei b'chol mokom. Holu is kasher, right? It's not what? Why is it tomei? On the Gemara says, cave the mekilfin. It's what are they? Their husks were removed. The lav the sharbu mai lavi mikalfo. You hear this? Because if you wouldn't soak it first, you couldn't remove the husk from the kernel. But my korle chilko, the shokel chilkayu. They removed. When you remove the husk is smooth. So they removed what was smooth, because what's underneath the kernel is a little rough. Rashi says, Rashi, he learns the other. When you remove the husk, it becomes smooth. Meisveik. We learned in the Mishnah, in the Dorim, hanodim in adogon. Person makes a neder, he's not going to know. What does dogon mean? Dogon normally means grain. Right? Person makes a vow, he's not going to eat grain. Osur af b'pula mitzri. Yovish, he's not permitted to eat the Egyptian bean, which is similar to grain. Okay? Yovish, umutabelach, he's not permitted to eat the dry one, but he's permitted to eat the moist one. Mutabores, and he's permitted to eat, ores, rice. The chilka b'tikus v'tisni, and he's also permitted chilka tikus and tisni. Someone says, Bishlam al-mandi yomar chadul tarti. If you say it means cracking the wheat. Chilka means 2, 3, or 4. Chadul tarti, chadul tlas charabo shapin. Why? Because what the meaning of grain means, it's whole grain. Whole grain means it has been cracked, right? So therefore, since it's cracked, therefore it says you're permitted in chilka tikus and tisni, because it's no longer classified as dogon, right? Right? The nafki lumitor is dogon. It's not longer classified as dogon. Eleman the yamukunso, but if it only means, it means it's whole grain. It only means the husk was removed. Dogam alyu. So why you permitted? It's still dogon. Kasha. So the Gemara says it's difficult. Rafuna sharlu lahani krupaiso. Lemezl zuni kirachai bishuka. Rafuna permitted the spice merchants to sell spices on Chol Moed. Spices, okay? Aser Rav Kana, so Rav Kana asked on Rafuna, how do you permit such a thing? Because this whole question, if it looks like uvdercho, looks like they're in regular bit people. If people would purchase spices for after Yom Tov, it's a problem, you know, because we have said before only tzar chamoed. So Aser Rav Kana asked on Rafuna. It says chanus pesucha listyov posech v'noel kedarko. Let's say you have the door of a store, and there's a blockage. There's like a seating area, like a elevated bricks piled up in front. Okay? So when you open for business from the street, you can't see it because the seating area blocks, so therefore it's not obvious that you open the store for business. What about psuchu shesaram? Let's say there's nothing blocking the doorway of the store. You're on the street, you see the store is wide open for business. Posech achas no achas. You can't open both doors. You only have one door open. Both doors you can't open. To see? Meaning, per need, you allow people, you sell. It's not just open, you buy as much as you want. You only buy because it's a need. You need it for Yom Tov. Erev Yom Tov Chag. Erev Yom Tov Chag Shel Chag. What about Erev Yom Tov, Erev Shmini Atzeres? Motzi Matir Shuke Oir Bepeiros. You take all the fruits out of the store and they bedeck the markets with fruits. B'shul Kovid Yom Tov Achron. You do it for the sake of, for Kovid Yom Tov, for Shmini Atzeres. So why permitted to go public on the last day for Shmini Atzeres? It's for Kavod Yom Tiv. So it seems to me they covered Yom Tiv Achron Ein, Shlo covered Yom Tiv Achron Lo, but you can't just sell as much as you want. L'kasho b'peiru b'tavlin. So with he says no, that's for fruits. For fruits, because fruits a person buys. See, what's it called? Spices. If you crush them, they lose their potency. So people only buy spices as much as they need. But fruits you can buy. You store it for a week. You have fruits, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, whatever it is. So that's the differential. The brisa that it says over here permitted only for covered Yom Tiv, that's speaking of fruits to bedeck the markets. That's covered Yom Tiv. But if it's spices, people buy spices only to use as they need them. You don't buy spices to store away, because we're speaking, you could always buy new spices. Because spices, they want to retain their potency. So there's an argument between Rashi and what is spices. Rashi learns it's speaking of the question whether it's leeks. What about it's cabbage? Tosa says it can't be cabbage. It has to be speaking. It's types of spices. Okay. Hajaloch mishover, hajaloch mishover, hajaloch mishover, hajralon. Elum begalchem b'moed. Now, chol moed, you're not permitted to take a haircut or take a shave. You're not permitted, but there are exceptions. Certain people are permitted to shave and take a haircut on chol moed. Who are they? Elum galchem moed habom midin say. A person came from overseas, and the boat docked on Yom Tiv. So when's the first time could he shave or take the haircut? It's chol moed, so we allow it. Ubeis hashvio, vayotzu beis asurim. Different type of, either he was in a holding cell or in prison. He was released from prison. So in prison he couldn't shave, or Tosa brings Yerushalmi, even if he could have. The person's mindset is what he's going to, who's he getting ready for? So therefore, the first opportunity to shave is when he gets out of prison, right? It's jail or prison. V'amanuda. What about a person he was excommunicated? She'etiru lechachomim, which the chachomim, they released him from a person who's in nidu icherim. He's not permitted to cut his hair. He's like a pariah. He has this clothing have to be torn. He has to go with his hair like an ovil. So and he was released on Chol Moed from his state of nidu, of cherim, he's permitted. Person made a net. He's not going to cut his hair, and then he went to the Chacham Chol Moed. He was matin neder. So until then, he wasn't able to cut his hair. He's permitted. Hanozeh mitzora mitumosel tyrosa or nozir, or a mitzora going from a contaminated state to start accounting of tyro. Also, he cut fein b'chapsim the moed. What about laundering? You're not permitted to launder your clothing on Chol Moed. But who are permitted? Habobidin Sayom, person came from overseas, Beis Hashvio, out of jail, Beis Asurin, out of prison, Umenude, Sheitiru L'Chachom, person was in an excommunicated state and he was released, Chemisha Nishal L'Chachom V'Utar, Mitchos HaYodayim, Mitchos HaSvorim, like gloves, or covering for the, what's his name, for Svorim, Mitchos hasvog, for a sponge. Azovos v'azovos, v'anidos, v'yoldos, the people who have to go to the mikvah, so they have to have clean clothing. Also, they're permitted because of their personal situation, but others are not permitted to launder the garments. Okay? Let's see Tosis over here. Yeah. So Tosis says, what relevance? What's the continuation of Elu Magalchin? So he says, Mishum de Torah b'idach pirk and dvorim shoslan tzarach. We said certain things you're permitted to do on for the sake of Yom Tov. Mochri peiros nasan kedin. There you're doing the right thing, right? You're permitted to purchase, to sell fruits for Yom Tov. Toninam if elu nasan shlo kedin. Even though normally you're not permitted to take a haircut, to launder, you're permitted. Person comes from overseas, person's released from prison, all because they weren't able to. So it simply means because in prison he doesn't have the means, he's not able to shave in prison.
So public
Kodem, what?
Public knowledge. You're in prison, now you're out of prison.
No, we didn't get. We'll get to the Gemara. The Gemara isn't going to talk about public knowledge.
Because we talk about the public, we can do many things on telephone. We talked about the dredging. We could fix streets. We could take.
No, it's not comparable. No, it's not comparable. Not comparable. Not comparable. That's to accommodate the public.
Right.
This is accommodated the person.
Right.
So that it's a whole different thing. This is public knowledge. There, it's public accommodation.
Okay.
It's not comparable. We'll see. So the question is, speaking because he couldn't shave in prison, or launder, or no, because a person in that depressed mindset, he doesn't. So Tos says two pshatim. She'eni yochel legaleach kodem hamoed, she'minicha lo legaleach. Hear this? Because they don't allow him in prison to shave. They think, what is this, a 5-star hotel? That's only in Guantanamo. It's 5-star, right? Even if they permit it, the person is not in an emotional mindset to groom himself in prison. Okay. So Tosa, it's a question. It says, what if a person was in an excommunicated state and he was released? Or a person went and was shown on his netter. So Tosa asks, Hiksha Biyushalmi Makshe. The Yushalmi asked this question. Yeah, very interesting question. Person comes from overseas, released from prison. You'd say he had no choice. He had no choice. What about a person who was in an excommunicated state? Why was he excommunicated? Because he was a tzaddik. Because he didn't pay properly. So why did he wait till Chol Hamoed to be released from the excommunication? He should have gone before Yom Tif. Says, I regret the wrong I did. Release me from my excommunicated state. So because he himself didn't come before Yom Tif, for whatever his own reason, now we're going to release him? Why do we allow it? If he's in prison, he has no choice. He can't shave, he can't groom himself, he can't wash his clothing, all that. Okay, a person comes from overseas. But a person, why was he excommunicated? Because he didn't bathe properly. So all of a sudden he decides at Chol Hamoed he's going to do tshuva. So they release him. No, so you woke up at Chol Hamoed, why don't you wake up before Yom Tif? Right? That's the Ushalmi's question. Okay, so Tosa says, Hani loma yitiru alo posha. He's liable. Or a person had a neder. Why don't you come before Yom Tov, before the Chacham, to know the neder? When they excommunicate a person, it's always minimally 30 days. The 30-day expired on Yom Tov. So even if you would have gone before Yom Tov, it had to run its full course. They need to post Mishloshim Yom Chimish Nishol Chacham. Muki lo bo lisho b'chol moed inami lefnei moed lemotzo bo Pesach. He did come. Speak about he came before the Chacham to annul the netter before Yom Tov, and the Chacham asked him all kinds of questions. He couldn't find a way to annul the netter. Came back Chol Moed. The Chacham came up with a new insight. So therefore, it's something he couldn't have done before. He tried. Now the question is, when we say you could you're permitted to shave, are we talking about a facial or even taking a haircut? Right? What are we talking about? Cutting one's hair is called tasporis. Right? Giluach is shaving one's face. Legalech means to shave. So Tosa says, V'giluach harosh nami yosa b'moed. Not only aren't you permitted to shave your face, but even your hair. Why? The Gemara says, what's the reason why on a Torah level you're permitted to take a haircut, shave? Because the Chachamim wanted when you enter into Yom Tov, you should enter in a groomed state. You should be groomed. If a person knows he could shave or go to the barber on Chol Hamoed, you know what he'll do? He says, look, I'm busy all till Yom Tov. I'll leave everything for Chol Hamoed. So if that's the case, how do you enter Yom Tov? In the disheveled state. If that's the case, no, you can't shave, you can't take a haircut on Chol Hamoed. As a result of that, that'll guarantee that before Yom Tov, you're going to watch, you'll take the haircut, and you'll groom yourself before Yom Tov. So if the whole idea is not to enter into an unkempt state, so why should you differentiate whether it's shaving one's face or cutting one's hair? It's the same thing. That's Tosis. He says he wants to say maybe cutting one's hair is even the man who comes from overseas. A haircut we don't allow, because that's much more of an act of cutting. Shaving is one thing. Taking a haircut is much more. Yeah, the boy, the Gemara, my time asurin, vaina giluach shel yipoy. David the mishli tzorach hamoed. One is called grooming. The other is more than grooming. It's like doing a significant amount of cutting. Shehi melocha, avol giluach, kolarosh osam mishum melocha, vaina kol nozem etzorah hudishari mishum mitzvah. So we have a proof from the Gemara. From the Mishnah, Mishnah says a nazir cutting off all the hair of it. There, it's not only because he's an ones, there's also a mitzvah. You're accomplishing a mitzvah, forming a mitzvah. Therefore, according to this, Tosa says, the person comes from overseas, person released from prison, although we allow him to cut his beard or shave his beard, but take a haircut not, because that's considered a malach. That's much more significant. Then he says, no, you're permitted. We don't differentiate. So Tosfos is not clear on this, whether you're permitted to take the haircut or not permitted. So the person's released from prison, or the person comes from overseas from Tom, Maikum, Ashlam, Nozim, Mitzora, Yishlam, so that Shlo Yishu, Korban the Sayin, the Shori, the Mari Hoch, Shlo Hoy, Lepinai, Davke, Yishlam, and Dochi Komar. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Shar Kolod, my time, Asurin. The Gemara asks, why don't we allow a person to shave? What's wrong with shaving, right? Ushar Kolodam, my time, Asur Kitnan, Achi Mishmar. It said we had in Tainus, Achi Mishmar, the people that were designated. Either they did the, what's it called, to do the avoda. The Levim, the Kohanim who did the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash, they went on a rotation system. Va'anchi Maimid, Os L'Sapel L'Chabis. They're not permitted during the week of their watch. They're not permitted to take a haircut. They're not permitted to wash their clothing. Ub'chamishi, but on the fifth day, which is part of the week, Mutorim Nekvod Shabbos. Rabbi Loza, my time. Rabbi Chana says the name of Rabbi Loza. Why? Why don't they allow them to shave and to wash their clothing during their watch? They constantly saying shame with the volume. They figure, look, you know, when I'm a jury duty, that's when I take all my wash, you know, lahavdil. So they don't want you come to the Beis HaMikdash, you come to do this kind of responsibility. You should come in a groomed state, not in a disheveled state. You allow a person to shave and do laundry and chalamoid, so leave everything for chalamoid to do. Therefore, we don't allow it. Boy Reb Zero. Now, Shiloh. So what's the reason? Because the person is going to be negligent and leave everything for chalamoid. So we're talking about a person who could have done it before. Boy Reb Zero. Avdullah Vedu Ervereg. One person lost something before Yom Tif, and he's like a semi-onus because he's looking for his lost item. Kevin the onus muta, he himself, he wasn't able to because the circumstance didn't allow him to shave and do his laundry. So do we say he's similar to the person who came from overseas? Odilma Kevin the mucham milsalo. You know why? Because we allow him. This is where public knowledge comes. Person comes from overseas, ship docked. People know, so therefore they know he's the exception. He couldn't have done it before. Person is released from prison, they know he was incarcerated. They know so therefore, people are not going to draw from him. He can, why can't we? But this man, this is a personal situation. He lost something. So even though he's on his own, but if people could draw the wrong lesson from him, because there's no public knowledge about him why didn't he shave? The answer is, evidently you see you could. Omer Abayi. So Abayi says, Yomo kol asurikin asur sriki baitus mutorin. The Gemara in Psachim says that this person, Baitus, he had a certain type. Now, if you go and you form, you know, if you let the dough sit too long on Pesach, it becomes chametz. So let's say you want to form it in a certain form, this and that, and then you smear it. We don't allow you to do it because it's inevitable. It's going to come chametz. By the time you form it, it's going to rise. But this person, Baitus, he had forms that he put the dough straight into the form. So what normally took time didn't take any time. So Gemara says we don't allow it. Because people say, Baitus can do it, why can't we do it? But people don't know, Baitus has these forms. So he's able to skip all that time. He's able to expedite the process. So since people draw the wrong lessons of Baitus, we don't allow it. Similarly here, if people don't know about his personal situation, that he had an Aveda, and all of a sudden they see this man shaving or laundering his clothing, what are people going to say? Evidently he could do it. Because it's not public knowledge that he came from overseas or he was released from prison. Therefore, we don't allow it. That's Abayi. Ulatamech. So the Gemara asks on Abayi, Hodim, Rav Asi, Rav Yochanan, Kol Misha Ishlo Ein Lo Cholak Echod. What a person has one shirt. He only has one shirt. So by the time it comes towards the end of Yom Tov, Chalamoid, you know, it's a riddle, it's not clean. Do we allow him to wash that one shirt? So it says, Mutal Chapsu B'Chol Shamoid. We allow him. So people say, what do we allow him to wash the shirt? People say the same thing. They'll draw the wrong lesson. Since there's no public, this man didn't come out of prison, and he didn't come from overseas, so why would we allow him to wash his shirt? So my answer is, Hosam Nami Yomru. The same, Kol Asurikan Asur of Sriki Baitus Mutorim. People say, we don't allow you to form the dough in a certain way, and Baitus we're going to allow. So Mar says, Hod Melo, Omam Abaravashi, Izur Muchuchalov. A person who has one shirt, when he washes his shirt, what is he wearing? He's wearing suspenders on his skin. He's in an undershirt, and he's not wearing a short shirt. So evidently it's clear if he's washing and laundering his things in public, in this kind of situation, so if that's the case, so it's obvious. So it's obvious. He only has one shirt, so that's so people understand. Why are we allowing him to launder his clothing? Because he's the exception to the rule. So also it's public knowledge. Okay? Ravashi Masni. Ravashi presents the question differently. Boy Reb Zero. Umich of the Aveda. Interesting. Shai, let me. Person lost an Aveda to have a push. It's simple. We were not going to allow him to shave, not to launder his clothing. What about a person is the community barber? He's the barber for town. And Erev Yom Tif, he's not able to give haircuts because he's busy because he lost something. So his problem, everybody becomes aware of his problem. So the question, it's like semi-public knowledge, correct? Or he runs the bathhouse, right? Uman, they ask, where is he? Where's Chaim? Right? Where's Shimon the barber? He's looking for his donkey. It went lost. So is that enough to be public knowledge, and therefore we're going to allow him to launder and shave? So since he's the professional, so therefore that's enough public knowledge that people know. Since when he's there, Chaim being out there, people aren't aware. They just see somebody going and shaving. So what do people say? You see, you could shave. Because when a person comes from overseas, it's obvious this man just came out of prison. This person just came from overseas. On that kianach lo, tomorrow leaves it at teku. It's unresolved. Therefore, we don't allow him to do it.
Well, we can't. The profession, even though it's known he's searching for objects, still is not.
No, because when he's searching, it's not enough public knowledge. Over here, Toast brings a famous Yerushalmi that a person, little children, as much clothing as they have, you could. That's like cholak echot, because since children dirty their clothing continuously, as much as you have, it's still not enough. So therefore, a mother or a father could wash children's clothing. Laundering clothing of a child chalamoid is definitely permitted. Tos has a question of what about if a person was in the hospital and as a result of being ill, not well, and he was released. So in that situation, would that be, you're talking about like in a small town. You know, everybody knows the man is sick. Now all of a sudden he gets better cholamoid, and now do we allow him to shave? Because he wasn't able to, because he wasn't well. So Tosa says it's unclear. It's not clear. That doesn't resolve it either. Further. It says a person comes from Medinas Hayam, so we allow, it comes from overseas. Now, this person went overseas. Did he go on, was it a leisure trip? Carnival cruise? Was he on the hospital ship? Or was he on an aircraft carrier? Well, why did he go overseas? Okay? Medinas Hayam, Mastis and Lok Reb Yehuda. He says, our Mishnah that we allow the person who comes from overseas, the Mishnah is not going like Reb Yehuda. Why? Who's Reb Yehuda? The Tanya, Reb Yehuda Omer, Habom Dis Hayom, Lo Yigaleach. Person comes from overseas, we don't allow him to shave. Why? Who told him to go overseas? He brought this upon himself. Person is in jail, incarcerated, in prison. He has no choice, right? But this man, when he go overseas, he created the situation. So we're not going to allow him to shave in the situation he created. Omar Rava, Loshet Divrei HaKolosa. Rava says, if he went for a leisure trip, everybody agrees. Even our town agrees. We don't allow him to shave. You want to go leisure trip? You think we're going to allow you to shave? We don't allow it. Lemizonos divrei hakol muter. Whatever he went for livelihood. He went overseas for a livelihood. People went on business trips. Everybody agrees. Even Rabbi Yehuda agrees he's permitted to shave because that's legitimate. That's a legitimate, justified trip. So where did they argue? Lo nechu el harvocha. What about it? He had enough to eat. He didn't have to take the trip. He went purely for profits, like we had earlier, right? If a person wants to open shop on Chol Hamoed for profit, now it's a davar avud. If you're going to take a loss, if you don't open your store on Chol Hamoed, you permit it, if it's a loss. But if it's purely profit, you know, you want to call a stockbroker because you heard it, you got a tip. to buy a stock. You're not allowed to do it on Chol Hamoed because that's profit. Maybe a loss the other way, right? But let's say you have something, and if you don't maintain a customer, you're going to lose the customer. See, you invested in a customer. If you don't, right? Right? So that's the Avot. So what about if he went Mizonos, he didn't have what to eat, and he had to go overseas to support his family? It's permitted. What about Laravocho? It's not leisure, it's for profit. It was a profit trip. Right here, there's some certain, how do we gauge it as A or like B? So that's the machlokas. Mar medami leil koloshut. So Rabbi Yehuda says that if it's profit, that's like a leisure trip. We don't allow you. Umar medami leil kimizonos. And the Chachomim, the Tanakh, our Mishnah says no, that's like a livelihood. It's legitimate. The person goes to make money. It's not a leisure trip. So even if he comes back on Chol Hamoed, we allow him to shave. Omer Rebbe, so Rebbe says, Nirin div Rabbi Yehuda k'shiyotza shelo b'reshus. So Rebbe says, we rule like Rabbi Yehuda if he went out without permission. We'll see in a moment. Divrei Chacham k'shiyotza b'reshus. Where he went with reshus. We rule like Rabbi Yehuda where he went shelo b'reshus, and we rule like the Chachomim where he went with permission. So what's my shelo b'reshus? What does it mean? Ilay meloshut. Doesn't mean he went without permission. He went for a leisure trip. Like, a guy goes off to California for a week. Okay? It's a good thing you didn't come back Chol Hamoed. We said everybody with agreement that you're not permitted. Even the Chacham agree you're not permitted to shave. Ella, what is it? Limizonos. He went to put food on the table. Even Rabbi Yehuda agrees you're permitted. Ella Pshita. So what does it mean? Larvocha. When it says Shelo B'reshus, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he went for profits. So there, Rabbi says we rule like Rabbi Yehuda, right? And not like the Chachomim. Ema Seifa. Let's see the conclusion of the Brisa. It says, Nir and Divrei Chachom K'shiyotza B'reshus. We rule like the Chachomim where we went out with permission. My B'reshus. What does B'reshus mean? Ilay min limzonos. Did he go out to put food on the table? Amar Divrei Hakol Mutter. We said even Rabbi Yehuda agrees. If it's to put food on the table, that's a necessity. Right? Even Rabbi Yehuda agrees he could shave. El Arvicho. So what does it mean? It means for profit. You just finished saying in the ratio, Rebbe rules like Rabbi Yehuda, that we don't allow it. So how do we reconcile the opening statement of the Brisa and the closing statement? Hochi Kamer. See, more answers like this. Interesting. Nirin divrei Yehuda l'Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda, the position of Rabbi Yehuda is acceptable to the Chachomim. K'shiyotza shelo b'reshus. Where he goes shelo b'reshus. And what does that mean? That means if he went for leisure. For a leisure trip, even the Chacham are agreeable. We don't allow him to shave. The Chachamim are only arguing where he went for profits. But for pleasure, leisure, modalay, they agree, they concur that you're not permitted to shave. The Rabbanan, the Rabbi Yehuda, and the Rabbanan, the position of Rabbanan is accepted by Rabbi Yehuda when? Shiyotz B'reshus. What does Reshus mean? Not Reshus of what the Chachamim Reshus. Limzonos. Shafil Rabbi Yehuda lo nechlu aleim el arvicho. Av limzonos. But if it's put food on the table, modelu. Everybody agrees. We permit. Let's get an interesting shayla. Person goes off to a trip to the Far East by boat, and the boat and they will come down with some kind of bacteria on the boat. As a result, they come back Chol Hamoed. We allow them to shave or not, right? So they say he got sick. They got sick. They were put in. They were hospitalized. They paid $5,000. They may get a reimbursement on the trip. They're not sure yet. Legionnaire's disease. This one, and they bring him back, right? Fly him in on stretchers. Come back to New York Chol Hamoed. Do we allow him to shave or not? Howard. Who told him to go? No, it doesn't make a difference. Still, if you wouldn't have gone, you created your own problem. Okay? Omer Shmuel. Kodna nola b'mon. Interesting shayla. You had a baby born a Chol Hamoed. Baby, some kids are born with a full head of hair. So the question, are you permitted to cut the child's hair on Chol Hamoed? You couldn't cut his hair before he was born, right? It's like Yotze Beis Asura, like he got out of prison. Yeah. Kodna b'moed, mutar legaleach b'moed. Shmuel says you're permitted to cut the child's hair on Chol Hamoed. Why? The womb is the greatest. The child was in prison. You couldn't do it earlier, right? So it says b'moedin. So according to Shmuel, what's the inference of his statement? Only because he was born Chol Hamoed, you couldn't do it earlier. Let's say he was born before Yom Tiv, and all of a sudden the mother's not happy with the child's hair. You can't have the barber come to the house and cut the kid's hair. No upsharing on Chol Hamoed, right? Now my difficulty here is, we said earlier, it's only because it's public knowledge, right? Right. So I mean, if a child is born Chol Hamoed, what, it's public knowledge that he was born? So you have to say yes. When a child is born, it becomes public knowledge in the community. You have to say, in our community, it's not. You live in a big city. Who knows? Right? So evidently, maybe it would not be. I mean, Tosa says earlier, we had about digging graves on, says you're not permitted to dig a grave on Yom Tiv. So Tosa says over there that, or make a coffin. So Tosa says, when you live in a big city, does anybody know who died? But he says, in France, in the small towns, the villages, the person died, the whole city knew somebody died. Then you could dig the grave, and you could even make the coffin. Because it's public knowledge. It's not for after Yom Tiv. It's for immediate need. Some say it could be the same thing with the child being born. How does Shmuel say that you could cut the child's hair? If he's what? If he's born Chol Hamoed, because it's like being released from prison. The person, it's public knowledge. When he's released, everybody knows. But a child being born, children are born every day. Who said this child was born? Right? So evidently, you have to say it's speaking in a small setting. When a child's born, yet everybody knows about it. You only have one Shalom Zocha Friday night, more than one, not more. Lakewood, you have 30 Shalom Zochas every Friday night. Yeah. That's why Howard doesn't live in Lakewood. He'd be running around all night, never sleep. Okay. Okay. You'd be drinking beer all night. Okay. Maser and Pinchas. So it seems to be Shmuel saying you can only cut the child's hair if he's born on Chol Hamoed. But if he's born before Yom Tiv, to cut his hair on Chol Hamoed, we wouldn't allow it. Maser and Pinchas, Kol Elu Shomer Mutal Galech B'Moed. Says whoever you're permitted to cut the person's hair on Chol Hamoed, Mutal Galech Be'evlo. That same person, even during a Shiva period, he's permitted to cut. So let's say a person was Bo B'Dina Sayyam, and he finds out that he's in the middle of Shiva. He hasn't taken a haircut in weeks. He was in prison. So we allow him to cut his hair in the middle of the Shiva. That's what it says. Whoever is permitted to take a haircut or shave a Chol Hamoed, we permit him to shave during his Avelus, during the time that he's not permitted to shave normally. Right? Ha'osel galech b'moed. So the person who's not permitted to shave, to cut his hair on Chol Hamoed, osel galech b'me'evlo. So according to this, if you'd have a child born before Yom Tiv, you listening? And then afterwards, let's say the child's father dies. According to this, you wouldn't be permitted to cut his hair. It's a little bit of a problem. A child is not chai b'avelus. We'll see in a moment. Right? So we're saying we have a rule here. Whoever you're permitted to cut the hair on Chol Hamoed, you're permitted to do it during Avelus. Whoever you're not permitted during Avelus. So we just said if the child's born before Yom Tov, from Shmuel it was inferred, you're not permitted to cut his hair on Chol Hamoed. So this child, although he's a minor, during Shiva, you wouldn't be permitted to cut his hair. So the Gemara is going to ask a question. The Amrit Kod Isle Ispe. Right? The Amrit Kod Isle Plukto, you're going to say by a child. Nimtzes Avelus Neges Bekoton. According to Shmuel, according to the statement, Avelus is going to pertain to a child, which is no such thing. Rashi, Chiluk de Nolad Kodem Regel, Enem Govelech Beregel, Islam Mehov Osel Gech Beregel, Osel Galech Nameevlo. So now we're talking about Avelus even applies to a child, because we're saying a rule. Whoever you could cut his hair during Chol Hamoed, you're permitted. If not, not. So Mar says, V'yam Rekot Nislei Beplukto, Nimtz Avelus to Heges Bekoton. If we're differentiating be the child, whether he's born before Chol Hamoed or on Chol Hamoed, for Tanya, we learned in a Bryce, a very interesting concept. The Karen Lekotin Neagmis Nefesh. Why do you rent a child's clothing? A child is an Avil. He loses his father, his mother, his sibling. Why do you tear his clothing? Not for the child. Because when you tear, so other people should feel the pain of the loss. It's covered amnes, because you see, Rachmanis, a child, is having his garment torn for losing a loved one. It tears the hearts of people to see this. Not that the child is obligated to be in a state of avelus. Right? Rashi says, Sheyivku aroin v'yirbu koved ames lo b'nei shuavim. It's not because the child is in a state of avelus. You're doing it to evoke the pain of others, that they should feel the loss of this person, of this child's parent. That's why you're doing it. So if that's the case, so that means you should be permitted to cut his hair, even a cholamoid. But we just said a rule: whoever you're not permitted to cut the child's hair, a cholamoid. You're not permitted to do it during avelus. Amar Avashi miktani asurin. Doesn't say asurin. Dilma yeshmi and osir yeshmi muter means some who you're not permitted to do a cholamoid, you're not permitted to do on that, but there are others that you're not permitted to do a cholamoid, but you can do it during avelus. That's the child who's not obligated in avelus. The child, he's a minor. Yesh man also, yesh man muter. Yeah, maybe tamer Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi Masioch Omar Shmuel Cotton Muter Legalcha B'Moed. You're permitted to cut a child's hair a cholamoid. Loshna Nola B'Moed, Loshna Nola Mekar, whether he's born before Yom Tif, he's born on cholamoid. Either way, you can cut the child's hair. Omar Rav Pinchas Avnam Tzlina. Rav Pinchas brings a proof from the Mishnah. Whoever you're permitted to cut his hair on cholamoid, you're permitted to cut it during avelus. But those who you're not permitted to cut the hair during cholamoid, if you can tell a child you're not permitted to cut his hair on cholamoid, nimtzas avelus nagus bekotten. V'tanya, we learned to the contrary. Mekaran lekotten the agmas nefesh. Omer Avasha Rav says there's no proof. There's no proof in that Mishnah. Miktani ho asurin doesn't say they're forbidden. Dilma yeshmin osi yeshmin muter avaleinu dog bavelosa bereg. Stop. We'll stop here. Okay, almost got. We did more than a blot, but almost today's blot.